Amazing. Thanks again. And welcome to the show, Patrick Spichelski, our community favorite Claygentic distribution. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Cannot complain and pumped to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're pumped to host you. What are we
Awesome.
seeing today?
Yeah, so today I'm planning on showing off a system that we've actually built for ourselves internally that helps automate, I'd say around like 90% probably of the pre-call prep that is required for us to get on a demo call with a potential prospect. So it's something I'm pretty pumped about and yeah, pumped to show it.
Love it. Let's dive into it.
Cool. I will share my screen. Can you see my screen, Julia? Amazing. Okay, so the system I built today is one that prepares my agency internally for getting ready for calls when a prospect books one. As a quick high level about what my company does, which I think is relevant to the table, we are an agency that helps build go-to-market systems using AI tools like Clay and N8N for mid-market to enterprise companies. And you can probably imagine, due to the fact that we're a relatively high-ticket service, there's a lot of preparation involved in getting ready for a sales call. Two of the main things we usually do is build out a PowerPoint deck or a slide deck outlining some of the things we can do for the company, as well as build a proof of concept in Clay. So we can generally show them the type of stuff that we can build for the company specifically. And everything we do is very custom, so it's tough to prepare all this stuff. Like for every large company we get on a call with, it takes like hours to do all of this work. And so I was like, how can we do this faster using AI agents? That is our job as a business. So it'd be pretty embarrassing if we couldn't figure out a way to do it. So I wanted to show you this workflow. You can see we have 5 different companies that have been imported into Clay from HubSpot. For those who don't know what Clay is, I feel like that list of people is getting smaller and smaller as time goes on. It's a go-to-market workflow tool, so you can automate a lot of really cool things, and it has a lot of great enrichment capabilities. But we import these 5 companies into Clay. You have a few basic pieces of information from HubSpot, like name and domain. Clay has a bunch of enrichments in the platform. So the next step we wanted to take was to find more information on these companies, and they have this enriched company integration. All you have to do is throw in their LinkedIn profile or domain, and you can output all of the data in their LinkedIn. So we did that, output a few different data points we found valuable, like where the company's based, their description, their industry, their employee count, and revenue. Clay also has enrichment waterfalls. And so another thing we wanted to figure out and research prior to talking to them is their funding. Clay waterfalled a bunch of different enrichment data providers here to find the company's funding. You can see its output here. We also did another search to see how many sales team members the company has. So you're able to actually throw in some job title keywords specific to that company. We put in SDR, BDR, a bunch of, like sales team member keywords, and we figured out how many sales team members they have based on the LinkedIn search that we ran. We then scraped their 10K for some base level financial data like profitability, fundraising, revenue, all that good stuff to validate the revenue metrics we got from the previous enrichment. And this is where it gets pretty cool. So the first thing we did was we wanted to ICP score this company. And so I prompted an AI agent to go scrape the web about this company. And I gave it a ton of different criteria about which we qualify by scores, weights. I don't want to go through the entire prompt. It's pretty boring, but you can imagine everyone has their own scoring system. We fed our own scoring system into this prompt. And based on that scoring system, we were able to output a final score from 1 to 10. You can see most of these companies, given that they're large enterprise software businesses, people that we target pretty heavily, they're all great fits. Next, we went and found their tech stack. So we found the entire company's tech stack using this integration. We threw in the pieces of tech we care about the most. So this is a limited, but still pretty long list of companies that we integrate with or work with, pieces of tech specifically. And so we figured out whether these companies work with these pieces of tech, and we output 3 examples. So now we get to the part where we do really deep research and we create both the POC and then the PowerPoint deck. And we actually generate a Clay table, you'll see in a second, automatically, and we generate a PowerPoint deck automatically using this Clay table. So, or not PowerPoint, but a Gamma AI, like another, I'm sure people have heard of it, but like an AI presentation software. So the first thing I did in this part of the process is I prompted Claygent to give me a high level summary of the sales team for each one of these companies. So you can see it gave me a really long description of like everything involving this company's sales wing. So how much they pay their sales team members, how their sales team is structured, how they're incentivized to close deals. We also did the same thing with their revenue model, so to figure out how they charge people. And we used all of this data that I found, I've shown you in the previous few integrations to recommend some specific use cases as to how we could help this company. So I provided another AI column, a list of 17 use cases that we've done for companies pretty consistently. And I said, based on all of this information that I just found, tell me the three use cases that are the most valuable for this company and then describe them in detail. And you can see it outputs a bulleted list of three really great use cases in detail for what we can build out. Then I told another AI column, pick one of these use cases and give me a step-by-step spec on how I could build this use case in Clay. And so it used a very high level of like an OpenAI API call to do this, but it was able to actually figure out how to build this table in Clay based on the use case generated in the previous thing. We wrote this to a Google Doc, and then we were actually able to use it's essentially Clay's answer to OpenAI Operator, but a tool that can actually take actions on the web to create this Clay table. Not the Clay table itself. I wish we could do that. Hopefully we can do that soon, but at least generate the table to a relatively accurate percentage for our sales team member to start with, as well as now they have a document outlining step by step how to build the table itself. Finally, the last thing we needed to do was generate a slide deck. Generating slide decks for anyone who's done it, which I'm sure is everybody on this call, is annoying. It's arduous. It takes a ton of design time, and I didn't feel like doing it anymore as a person running founder-led sales in my company. And so I used this really expensive 150 credit per row Clay integration to create this slide deck for me based on all of the data that I found in the previous steps of the table. You can see it did a great job. It output 10 slides and the text associated with each slide. And then again, I mentioned this earlier, but there's this tool called Gamma. If you haven't checked it out, I would really recommend doing so. It can create slide decks for you using natural language prompting. And so we sent all of this to their API, which is currently in beta. They just came out with it recently. If you have a pro plan for Gamma, you can use their API to generate slide decks for every single one of these companies programmatically. And so here is an example of what the slide deck looks like. You can see it has a high level on the kiln, what we do, and then it goes through each one of the use cases in depth. So really cool. And of course, this is not like something we'd immediately present to a client. I wouldn't recommend that, but it's a great start. And it's significantly better, in my opinion, than doing all of this from scratch, saving us a ton of time in our sales process. And then we update all of this data back into our HubSpot to keep the loop closed and to have a central source of truth for everything here. So I know I just talked a lot, but hopefully that was somewhat valuable. And of course, happy to answer any questions. And I feel like this just generally shows both the power of Clay and how powerful AI agents are in being able to solve high-level tasks and take actions for you today.
Always phenomenal featuring you, Patrick. Thank you so much. Learned a ton, and people want to know, what can you share about Clay's AI roadmap?
Yeah, so Clay initially started just with LLM text generation calls, and so like the ChatGPTs of the world, it was like, what was their integration? You could use ChatGPT at scale. They've now developed two AI agents that can do research for you, as was shown here. And then the next step, which they're currently building, and I was able to test out to some extent, was their operator function. So being able to take actions in tools, being able to take actions on the web, fill out forms for you, and actually complete tasks for you. And so to me, this is the next iteration of what Clay is going to do: take action in tools, and being able to like actually fulfill entire tasks instead of just do research.
And what was the most effective Clay campaign you've ever run or seen?
Man, good question. We've had a lot. Funnily enough, one of the most effective ones wasn't ridiculously complicated at all. We were running an outbound campaign to Fortune 500 companies on behalf of one of our clients. This one campaign has generated them between like 100 and 150 million dollars in pipeline since we started running it for them. And it just reaches out to Fortune 500 leaders referencing some sort of news that has recently come out about their company specific to the segment in which they work. So if they're the head of marketing, it's not really worth talking about an engineering feat inside of Google. The organization is massive for these companies. And so we just did a lot of deep research to find specific releases about a given thing that segment of the company did, and then just asked them to chat. This was coming from like the CEO of a very large company, so that's worth noting. It's not like you could send this as an associate and get the same results, but it was pretty much just asking for a quick coffee chat because they're usually the services that this person was doing and the company had a lot in common. So yeah, it was a very simple campaign, but it did incredibly well. It's one of the case studies on our website. It was for like a 9,000 person, $2 billion a year company.
Curious, what tools are you experimenting with, Patrick? Like N8N, anything new and exciting on the AI?
Yeah, I'd still say probably like 80 to 90% of the work we do is in N8N and Clay. We do a lot of Claude Code and Cursor and Lovable work as well. I wouldn't say it's what we are specifically like the most capable in, but yeah, those and MCPs are, in my opinion, like the most cutting edge tech we can build and go to market, and we've been experimenting with a lot. Um, I'd say for those who aren't super technical, though, I would stop at probably Clay, N8N, and maybe a little bit of Claude Code. But at least from my experience and my team's experience, vibe coding without any technical ability is um, a lot harder than if you have any even like baseline technical knowledge. So we try not to build systems that we aren't confident in.
People are asking, what do you wish AI could do on the GTM side of things, and it still can't?
That's a great question. I mean, honestly, since the operator function launched, it's really hard to say that there's anything it can't do. I would say I wish the operator function was more robust and could do more. As I mentioned, we had Clay build Clay tables in this use case, which is cool, but it wasn't doing it perfectly. It was building tables and being able to do a couple basic steps. If it could like actually think through how to use the tool properly, which is usually what an MCP would do, that would be awesome. But it'd be great if we didn't need an MCP to be able to do that. If we could take actions in a tool without having like robust API documentation to reference, that would be pretty nice.
This is a fun one. Where do you see your agency in 2030?
Gosh, great question. I'd say the general direction in which we're trying to go is we're still pretty confident that 95% of agencies plus in the current space were not built to serve AI implementation, especially with how fast it's evolving. The McKinseys of the world cannot iterate nearly quickly enough to actually serve real value to a lot of large companies when it comes to AI implementation. And so we've remained small for that reason, because I think it's easy to pivot and for our whole team to learn new things. But the goal would be to scale, maybe not to McKinsey size, that'd be absurd, but to a very large agency that can still pivot really quickly with new AI development. I think that'd be a nice goal.
Another one here is, who do you look up to in B2B?
I'd say the two like biggest mentors I've had were Clay's co-founders, Varun, Anand, and Kareem. I mean, they are both kind of savants in their space. I think Varun is an operations wizard. Kareem is a product visionary, and seeing them, I started working before I started the agency. I was working at Clay. I was like their ninth or 10th team member, and just seeing them grow this thing into a multi-billion-dollar company has been really inspiring. So yeah.
And last one, just for fun, we have 1 minute. People are asking, would you buy a personal robot?
Would I buy a personal robot? I don't know. I feel like I'd be way too sketched out about that. Like, I don't know. That's a little too dystopian for me. I think I'd be out.
Let Elon Musk know.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
cool. Always great hosting you here. And yeah, the last question is, how can we support you? Where should our community go?
Yeah, feel free to just follow me on LinkedIn. Just my name, of course, and then our website's thekiln.com. So feel free to check out some of the stuff we're doing over there. But yeah, that's all I've got.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Julia. Bye.